Okay, today we are going to resume with, we are in over here, the halachas of lighting Shabbos candles. Simin Reish Samach Gimel, Sifei, we're in the middle of, and today we're going to focus on some additional points that we missed out on the first two sessions of this. It says over here that when you light a candle, say the beracha ta Hashem Elokeinu melech haTzedek haVtzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbos. That's what it says in Shulchan Aruch over here. Lahadlik ner shel Shabbos. Ner is in the singular tense. Lahadlik ner shel Shabbos. But most times we light many, multiple neros. So why does it lahadlik ner shel Shabbos? That's the question that we have to deal with over here. So did we say Besanachah too? So this will explain Shabbos as well, Chanukah as well. Mishnah Berurah says Lavik Ner Vafilu Kishamadlik Hamaneros Tov Yoiser Shiyomer Ner. Why? Ki Ikar Achiv Ner Ner Echad. Even if you have multiple candles, nevertheless, or oil that you're lighting from, so then you say Lahadlik Ner Shel Shabbos because the main obligation is on one candle. So that comes along the Oz V'Hadar Mishnah Berurah in their commentary and says, really, it's fitting you should say Nerus in the plural tense. Nevertheless, we say Lahadlik Ner. Why? The explanation is because it's that's the main obligation. All right?
What does that mean? What do you mean?
The main
One
obligation
there?
is
Like
just
one
on
there?
one candle, and that's it. You don't need multiple candles, right? That's what the Mishnah Berurah means. So comes along the Oz V'Hadar Mishnah Berurah. They quote the Eli Rab over here. B'Shem the Hagos Min Hagamu says Kishamadlik Ner Echad. If you're lighting one candle, you say Ner Shel Shabbos. When you light two candles, he actually has the text where you would say Neiros. Make this a little bit bigger so we don't need to squint at all. So he actually says that we would say Neiros. Hadliknei Roshel Shabbos, which is interesting, and we obviously don't hold this way, but nevertheless, it's interesting to learn such an opinion over here. And he brings a proof from what it says in the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Kuf Chav Siv Gimel, though it's over there in your day of the halachas of Tevilas Kalim, when it comes to putting Kalim in a mikvah, shekishet toivel kli echad yavarech al Tevilas kli. If you bring one kli, one vessel, one item to the mikvah, you say al tfilas kli. However, if you are bringing two or more, so then you say the bracha al tevilas kalim. So the Eli Rab is saying that just like by Tfilas Kalim, we see that the text of the bracha will depend upon how many Kalim you are toveling, so too over here. And then the Eli Rab adds that it's still implied that even if you're going to light two candles, you still say the Hadlik Ner Shel Shabbos. It would be different for some reason. That's what the Pri Megadim says as well. You should not change the text, and even if someone is lighting many candles, he should recite the bracha of the Hadlik Ner Shel Shabbos. Since
But
the
is
mitzvah is only with one candle. And then he says, even though regarding the kalim, when you're bringing them in the mikvah, some say that if you're gonna tovel more than two kalim, sha'af hamatbil yoyser mikli echad in mavarch el hatbil kli. Right? So he says that he says no. Even by Tvilas Kalim, the halacha is, and there are, by the way, different customs with this. You'd say the bracha of Al Tvilas Kli. So just like over there, when it comes to putting the vessels in the mikveh, you say Al Tvilas Kli, even if it's more in the singular tense, even if it's more vessels that you have, so too over here by lighting the Shabbos candles. Furthermore, over there we're talking about that there's an obligation to immerse all of the vessels. Conversely, over here, from the letter of the All Maker Hadin, all you need is one candle, and you could fulfill your obligation with that. Ner Chanukah. That
that's the difference.
the text over there, the idea is that no, by Ner Chanukah, the first night you light one candle, second night two, etc. You always ascend, but you can't change the bracha. The first night you say Lahadlik Ner Shel Chanukah, then you say Lahadlik Ner Shel Chanukah, and the second night, etc. So you keep it the same. The Torah's Chaim explains that also the Hagois Min Hagim says low plug over here you don't differentiate, and that which it says you say Neros. That's because it's referring to in a situation when you're lighting in multiple houses and you're lighting a candle in each house. Then you would say Lahadlik Neiros Shel Shabbos. Conversely, if it is in one house, then you would say Lahadlik Ner Shel Shabbos.
Hotel, that would
Very nice. Wait, so
that was just like one.
I mean, hotels, you have a situation of you're lighting just once. What do you mean?
Oh, see, you're
Yeah, it's
saying per person.
per person. Okay, so that's the technicality regarding the text of the bracha itself. The Ramah comes along. The Shulchan Aruch continues actually and says, "On Yom Tov, we should also recite a bracha. Lahadlik ner shel Yom Tov." The Mishnah Berurah comments on this on Yom Tov. Ve'ein sarach levarach zman al baka. Says the Mishnah Berurah, you don't need to say shechiyanu when you light candles on Yom Tov. Miu b'makom shenahagu ein limchos b'yadan. However, in a place where they have the custom to do so, don't protest them. So this is something which very few people are even aware that this is a potential halachic issue. Let's just recap what just happened. Shulchan Aruch said, you also light candles on Yom Tov, and you say a bracha, Hadlik ner shel Yom Tov. Hmm? So comes along the Mishnah Berurah and says, okay, I agree. You light on Yom Tov. I agree. You say a bracha. I agree. However, that whole shechiyanu discussion, that I don't agree with, says the Mishnah Berurah. Now, by the way, the text of the bracha will be lahadlik ner shel Yom Tov, and we're going to come back to the shechiyanu momentarily. Just want to get this all in one shot over here. The He says lahadlik his sarach levarach lahadlik ner shel Yom Tov. That's the text of the bracha. B'chad Hashem Elokeinu malcham Mashiach Hashem tzivanu. As opposed to saying lahadlik ner shel Shabbos, you say lahadlik ner shel Yom Tov. So before we go to Yom Kippur, which is going to be a whole discussion in and of itself, hopefully we're going to have time to do the whole Yom Kippur discussion today. Should point out over here that the Mishnah Berurah says if im chal Yom Tov b'Shabbos oimer shel Shabbos al Yom Tov. If Yom Tov falls out on Shabbos, you say B'rachat Hashem Elokeinu malcham Asher Kedushav Mitzvahanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbos v'shel Yom Tov. That's what you say. Why is there no shechiyanu? Why is the Mishnah Berurah no, not on Shabbos, on Yom Tov? Why is the Mishnah Berurah over here quoting the Shari Tshuva, Rabbi Akiva Eiger, the Sheilitz Abetz?
That's what we hold back then.
Why is he so against the shechiyanu over here? Mishnah Berurah says you don't need to say shechiyanu. You don't need to say shechiyanu. However, in a place where that's the custom, don't protest them. What's wrong with saying shechiyanu on Yom Tov? Let me just ask a question. Do your wives say shechiyanu on Yom Tov? Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Now it's a halachic issue? Okay, so don't go home and say, Mrs. Wife, you're wrong by saying shechiyanu on Yom Tov. But what is this talking about? What's wrong with shechiyanu on Yom Tov? It's a new Yom Tov. What's the halachic issue over here? I'm going to tell you the problem. Problem is like this. You don't need to say, they specify the bracha of shechiyanu on the halakha, nearest of Yom Tov. Since the bracha of shechiyanu, mekevan shebircha shechiyanu shemavarchim b'Yom Tov olal etzem hayoim, ubracha no niskana al kol shel kiddush v'al balakas haner. Every woman is going to end up either hearing kiddush or making her own kiddush. And there's going to be a shechiyanu at that kiddush. And that's really where shechiyanu belongs on a regular Yom Tov, in kiddush. Shechiyanu doesn't belong on when you're lighting the Yom Tov candles. And like, what's the point of double dipping? In fact, the poskim talk about, they say, okay, by the way, when a wife fulfills her obligation of Kiddush through her husband, Shomei Kona, listening is like answering. The Shechiyanu in the middle of Kiddush isn't an interruption for her. There's an interruption between the Kiddush and when her husband's going to drink from the cup. However, in a place where there's a custom to say shechiyanu when you light, don't protest them. Since you're going to fulfill your obligation, even if you say shechiyanu, even if you don't say it with the kos, even if you don't say it with the cup, you would still fulfill your obligation. So, morning Shaya.
Morning.
So therefore, that's okay. But it's implied from over here. 100% it's implied. Women should not be saying shechiyanu when they light candles on Yom Tov. It's straight up. It's implied. So why not? Reason is, as we just saw, shechiyanu belongs at Kiddush. Let's go a little bit deeper on this topic. Someone over Yantiv saw that I was learning after davening. There was a lavish Kiddush somewhere where I was. And actually, this past Shabbos, Shabbos Mevarchin, that's what it was. Shabbos Mevarchin, this past Shabbos. Lavish Kiddush, ton of food. I was just sitting there learning. So after the guy comes, someone comes up to me after he already, ate enough. And he said,
Never ate it.
"What are you learning?" I said, "Siman Reish Samach Gimel, the halachas of, uh, you know, Shabbos candles, lighting." He said, "Oh, you didn't have any ideas to say of the Siman." But he said, "Oh, my father wrote a sefer on Hilchos Shabbos. Oh, what's it called? The concise something something. It's in English. Got the thing. I don't know." I said, "I'm not a concise guy. I'm a deep diver."
You told him that?
Yeah. So he goes, he has shuvas also in there, where he goes a little deeper. And I said, "Okay, now we're talking." So I said, "So could you bring it to me for Mincha Mar?" He said, "It's not going to be the Mincha Mar. It's a far walk. He's going to daven somewhere closer." Anyways, let's get a little deeper dive over here. So Siman Reish, yeah, a footnote Reish. Here's the Charles Tshuva Shelas Yabitz. Chelik Aleph Siman Kov Zayin, quoted by Rabbi Akiva Eger in the Shari Tshuva. This is what he says. That which some people have the custom to say shechiyanu, says the Yabitz. Oh, it's too zoomed in. There we go. That's nice. Okay. That which some people have the custom, Reish. That which some people have the custom to say shechiyanu when you light candles on Yom Tov. Ein lazeh yesod. No basis for it. These people saying shechiyanu when they light Yom Tov candles, when they light candles on Yom Tov, when they light the oil over there. Ein lazeh yesod, says the Yabetz. By the way, this is where the Mishnah Brew is coming from. He's quoting this Yabetz. However, miyu ein limchuis biyodom bechezkas hayad. Don't protest them. Have a
There's
strong
no
hand. Don't smack them in the face and protest them. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Sounds like you make a little bit of a protest.
Right, a small protest. You go home, you say, "Mrs. Wife, Rebbitzin wife." By the way, do you say Shechian? Yes. Who gave you the heter? The heter, what are you talking about?
My mother's mother's.
What do you mean? What are you talking about? Your mother's mother? Who gave her the heter? So we'll come back to that. V'hatam shelo levarach. What's the reason why not to say the bracha of Shechianu when you light? Few reasons. Number one, name me one posik that mentions that you should say Shechianu. Which rabbi say that you should be saying Shechianu when you light Shabbos candles? This is the Abbas. You could tell he had a fiery personality. Not afraid of no one.
Right?
He's not backing down. On Yom Tov, yeah, on Yom Tov. Shabbos for sure you don't say it. Reason number two, what do we learn? We just learned the simon in Hilchos Sukkah. Do we say Shechianu when we build the Sukkah?
Nope.
Nope. When do we say the Shechianu?
Kiddush.
Kiddush. And the Shechianu that we say during Kiddush covers the potential Shechianu that we needed to recite when we built the Sukkah. So that shechiyanu is inclusive. So just like over there, the shechiyanu, the potential shechiyanu that that we would need to recite when we build the sukkah is included in the shechiyanu during the kiddush, which also includes the actual Yom Tov itself of sukkahs. So to over here.
When was the Yavetz? Yeah, it was what, the sixth or something.
Yeah, a couple hundred years ago. I'm not sure exactly when you could Google it. But nevertheless, we see that the shechiyanu during kiddush, it's a one-stop shop. It includes everything. However, in a place where they have the custom, don't protest them. It's not a bracha levatala. Because the Gemara in Sukkah Mem Zayin Amud Beis says, shechiyanu you could say anywhere on Yom Tov. You could even say it's smack in the middle of the marketplace. You could be in the middle of Central Avenue, which is closed on Shabbos Yom Tov, of course. But the idea is you could say it anywhere. You could be in the middle of Times Square and say it. However, in a place where they didn't start saying shechiyanu, don't start that. Get the shechiyanu out of there. Then at the end he quotes the Birur Halacha, which is actually a Sephardi sefer. I think that this is Rav Avadia Yosef's son, if I'm not mistaken. He says that the custom is obvious that you would say shechiyanu when you light. Look over there at length for a lot of sources that he has over there, and look also in the Mikra Kodesh on Pesach Chelik Beis Siman Chav Tes. That's Rav C. Pesach Frank. I actually had a mental note to look this up and make a PDF file on it, but I didn't. But what's good is that we'll be meeting tomorrow, and I can still do it tomorrow. So that's good. But it would have been nicer in the flow of what we're doing to have everything organized. You're learning about it at the same time and everything. But look, you know, what can we say about the Shechiyanu? Seems like Shei Val Tasei, Hadif. Better not to. Many women they do it. Yeah. You have they don't quote over here what it says. Apparently the Bir Halacha tries to defend this, as well as the Mikra Kodesh talks about this. We'll have to see exactly what they say to defend this. Seems like just straight up, if you're learning hardcore, just general, straight up, cut and dry halacha. Seems better not to. In other words, what's the point of it? What do you gain by doing it? You're gonna get it at Kiddush anyways, the same shechiyanu. Same pack, it's the same, it's no difference.
Many brachas.
May brachos, it counts for them anyways.
They have two.
I don't even know if it counts for them because it's
Women don't have many
they already
brachas.
filled their obligation with it. You can't fulfill your obligation with the shechiyanu twice. It's just that the one during Kiddush isn't an interruption, halachically, for them with the Kiddush. I don't know if it counts for them. So what to look into there. It's a whole discussion by Yom Kippur. The Shulchan Aruch says, if it's just Yom Kippur that doesn't fall out on Shabbos, Yesh Misha Oimer, some say, the Torah quotes this in the name of the Yesh Oimer in the Baragol, it says, it's in Taisvis. Some say you don't make a bracha. However, look in Siman Tafrei Shud. Says the Mishnah Berurah, what's cooking over there in Tafrei Shud? Is actually, if you look at the Ber Halach over here, if you look in Tafrei Shud, when he says, look at Tafrei Shud, he's saying, you know why you don't say a bracha? When the Shulchan Aruch says, look over there, when you look over there in Siman Tafrei Shud, you'll learn why you don't say a bracha. Because there's a whole discussion if you even light Ner on Yom Kippur to begin with. In a place where they have the custom to light, you light. In a place where they don't have the custom to light, you don't light. And even though our custom is to light on Yom Kippur, still you don't say a bracha. Because on a custom, you don't make a bracha.
It's a custom to
Custom to light on Yom Kippur. Not a halacha, it's a custom. It's minhag. Look what the Mishnah Berurah says. Over there in Siman Tafresh Yud, the Shulchan Aruch brings an opinion who says you need to make a bracha because he holds on Yom Kippur. By the comment, Demevi Shama Machaber Das HaPoisek Hamatzur Chlavarch Tasir Leidigam Yom Kippurim Av Shein Bo Achil V'Shtil Vein Shayich. I love mitzvahs oineg, even though you're not eating and drinking and there's no owning, there's no pleasure, so to say. Filuhachi Shayich Lo Mishum Shalom Bayis. You could still light an air because you have the Shalom Bayis reason that applies. This is also fascinating. Most people have no clue that such an opinion even exists, let alone in Shulchan Aruch. Not to light candles on Yom Kippur, not to light the oil. And even if you do, potentially not to say a bracha. Who ever heard of this? Hmm. People who learn these halachas properly heard of it. Fascinating opinion over there. Fascinating. So what's the story by Yom Kippur? What's the deeper idea behind this over here? Deeper idea behind this, they actually discuss on their commentary to the Shulchan Aruch itself. Some say that even in a place they had in where there's a custom to light on Yom Kippur, nevertheless you don't say a bracha. Look later on. There's an opinion that says that in a place where the custom to light on Yom Kippur, you also need to say a bracha. By the way, just one point from yesterday. The Ramah says that you put your hand in front of the candle on Shabbos when you do this. Other poskim, they say that you should put your hands in front of your face like this,
Right,
not in front of
because
the candle.
we specifically said put your hand in front of the
Yeah,
camera.
yeah, yeah. So they
Right.
say Kitzur Shulchan Aruch or Aruch HaShulchan, Ksosei Shulchan, they point that out. There's a machlokes rishonim, there's an argument among rabbis from around 1,000 years ago if you need to make a bracha on Yom Kippur. According to the Rosh and Newman Siman Chav Zayin, you should make a bracha because also on Yom Kippur, even though you're not eating and drinking and you don't have the reason of oneg to get a pleasure, nevertheless you have the reason of shalom bayis. That's what the Torah says also, as well as the Shulchan Aruch and Tafresh Yud Sif Beis, quoting an opinion of those who say, someone who says. The Ramah says that's the custom. Nevertheless, the Mordechai himself in Tafresh Tes, as well as in Shabbos, and Reish Ayin Gimel writes that you do not say a bracha on lighting the candle on Yom Kippur, and the reason is that since the entire lighting is dependent upon a custom, you cannot say visivanu that you commanded us because it's a custom after all. And even regarding the reasoning of shalom bayis, peace in the house, that only applies on Shabbos, not on Yom Tov. Furthermore, the Lavush adds on that shalom bayis only applies in a situation where you're eating and drinking, aka not Yom Kippur. The Radbaz in Ishals and Shuvas in Chelik Vav in Simin, I'm not even sure what that means. Beis Aleph Reish Tes. Okay, he says it's somewhere in there that according to the Rush, you need to say a bracha on a minhag. It's something that's a custom, which is fascinating. It's a major sugya, major discussion of itself, major topic. Because of the reason of shalom bayis, peace in the house, they said that it's going to be an obligation, since it is included in kavod and honor, which there's an obligation for even on Yom Kippur. Don't compare this to minhag arava. We just had sukkahs, as we know, and at the end we take the arava around, we circle around. Take the rava, we hit it on the floor. Whole discussion why. Whole discussion how many times. Say around 5 times. Don't compare it to that mitzvah. Special mitzvah where we don't say bracha on. She'im lo ikar min hakasav. Because that has no real basis from the actual psukim. Sam Sofer explains that according to the Rosh, that we say a bracha on something that's a custom. And also Rabbeinu Tam says this is, as we learned in the past, this is why we say a bracha on Halal on Rosh Chodesh, even though it's not a full Halal and it's only a custom to do so.
What was the reason?
What?
Why do we say bracha on halal?
Because the opinions of Rishonim will hold that you say a bracha on a custom, and therefore that's why, practically speaking, we recite a bracha on Halal. This is what we learned about in Halal. Remember, we learned it wasn't so simple. The Aruch HaShulchan said.
I remember
Aruch HaShulchan, he said, by the way, on Rosh Chodesh, which is tomorrow, so keep this in mind, double. On Rosh Chodesh, don't say the bracha on Halal. Listen to the Chazan say the bracha, Have in mind that he's going to fulfill your obligation. You're going to fulfill your obligation, Shemei Ka'onim, and then you get out of the Shiloh, according to the Rishonim who say that you shouldn't be saying a bracha on Hal and Rosh Chodesh because it's just a custom.
Right, but how can you do that? He's not having you in mind. This chazan.
Hello, what does a Shliach Sibor mean?
I'm saying no, but typically he's not having you in mind. He's just kind of going through the motions.
Again, I asked you a question. What
I
does a
know, I know, I know. It
Shliach
means it means
Sibor
he's
mean?
he's 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 your representative. I know that.
He's a
Yeah.
messenger of the congregation. If he's not having there in mind, what's he doing up there?
He's doing the function of, you know, I mean, most people, if they're not being yotze with him, he doesn't know to have anybody in mind. That's what I'm trying to say.
He's doing the function of looking pretty,
No, pacing everybody. That's what he's
pacing
pacing.
everybody, a pacemaker.
That's what he's
He
doing.
is
He's
up
pacing.
there to fulfill the obligation of those whose obligation needs to be fulfilled.
Right, but I'm asking I know that's his job, but I'm saying, but typically the average Siach Sibur doesn't have that in mind. So can you like, is that a given that he's going to be thinking that
The
for
average
Hallel?
Shliach Tzibur has nothing in mind, but we
Exactly,
assume
that's
that
the
having
point.
nothing in mind is having something in mind, and that he would have in the back of his mind that if someone could maybe be listening and fulfill their obligation.
You would have?
That's what we assume. Because there's a shots once in a while, someone they're not sure if they said Ya'alev Yavo or whatever, and they need to go back. So they listen to the Chazin's davening after they daven. They're not sure. They listen to the. He can fulfill their obligation. They listen. There's nothing to lose by that. Could be. There are cases. So that's why the Aruch HaShulchan says you listen before and after, and then you can fulfill your obligation because of this precise halachic issue. Rabbeinu Tam brings another proof over here. He says we make a bracha on the second day of Yom Tov when we eat the matzah and maror, even though it's a custom. Even though it's a custom. So we see that on the second day of Yom Tov, of Pesach, we say a bracha even though it's just a custom. We're not sure what day it is. Is it the first or not? Don't compare it to Chivra when you take the Aravas and you smack it on the floor like we just discussed. You don't say brachan. Not because it doesn't have a basis in Sukkah, but it's tilto but you're just moving the thing around. What are you doing over here? It's not recognizable. You're doing it as a mitzvah. Someone walks in, sees you smacking branches on the floor. Smacking, I don't know how to say Aravas in English. They see you smacking some leaves on the floor. And you say, what are you doing over here? It's not recognizable. It's a mitzvah. It's recognizable that you've gone crazy, they're going to say. The Vilna Gaon says that even according to Rabbeinu Tam, that on Hallel we do make a bracha, that's because there's a minhag to say Hallel. However, over here in a situation when there's no custom in all places, because some places have the custom not to light on Yom Kippur, therefore you wouldn't say a bracha. So you see that there's a massive discussion about saying a bracha on Yom Kippur. This is all talking about when Yom Kippur falls out during the week. However, if it falls out on Shabbos, for sure you need to say a bracha. Shalom Bayis definitely applies when Yom Kippur falls out on Shabbos.
Therefore, you definitely make a bracha on Shabbos.
Yeah. And even though there's no eating and drinking, like the Levush said before, and therefore you wouldn't say bracha, nevertheless, you still make the bracha just like on every other Shabbos.
The Shabbos on.
Yeah. I don't know if that plays a role at all, but Shulchan Aruch and Siman Tov Reishud doesn't mention this bracha at all. The Ramah mentions it over there. Yep. Anyways, this is the discussion with the Yom Kippur. Fascinating stuff over here. Truly, there are, just to summarize, I mean, there were a tremendous eye-opening ideas that we learned today. Tremendous. You had first we started off with the text of the bracha, in the singular versus the plural. Then we learned the chiddush about shechiyanu in general, not saying it on Yom Tov. And then we learned about Yom Kippur, potentially not even lighting at all. So if those three topics aren't just mind-boggling and eye-opening, then I don't know what is. Because very few people know of this, and this is really halachic potential issues that come up. And we'll learn about this more. We'll see that the custom really is to say shechiyanu for a lot of people. I mean, we touched upon a little bit today, but we have to figure out why as to how to develop. It seems like it's against halacha. So that's what we'll do next time. I got to go early today, but Amir Hashem, tomorrow we will continue with this sif. We have a few more ber halachas, very relevant halachas that are going to discuss there, and we didn't learn the first Mishnah Berurah, which is the longest one on the sif. Also interesting insights. I just wanted to break it down this way. I don't know. I felt like it was more organized.
You don't know anybody who doesn't say shechiyanu?
I don't know, but I haven't really asked around so much. I have not.
I heard that I've heard still Schechter doesn't say shechiyanu. That's
Could be.
no, not shechiyanu. No, the halal thing doesn't say the bracha.
How?
Rosh Chodesh.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Based on what you said.
And then you have in mind with the chazan. That's what the Aruch
That's what I
HaShulchan
heard.
says.
That's
And
what I heard. Yeah.
I feel like in the YU world they focus a
Yeah.
lot more on the Aruch HaShulchan, so it's
Yeah.
not surprising. Yeah, I think so.
Rambam.
Rambam and Aruch HaShulchan. And anyways, all right, everyone should have a wonderful day. Sorry that I have to leave 5 minutes early today, and tomorrow we're resuming Mitzvah Hashem. Everyone should have a wonderful day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye.